we have some of this rain falling and talk a lot more about our chances for some rain next week.
And right here on First Alert Weather Extra, we also are, and no, your eyes aren't deceiving you. That's a colorful ocean. We'll tell you what scientists are hoping to learn by turning the ocean pink. Plus, your pictures and videos, including the one of a dust devil on the campus of an SEC school.
Live on your side, First Alert Weather Extra starts right now.
And welcome into Weather Extra. A little bit of rain out there, Tania.
Listen, I know some people are super happy to see that rain coming from the sky today. That 20% chance, it's showing up.
Listen, we were putting that 20% chance in there, and we're like, you know, some of the models weren't completely on board. But when you're talking about dry ground like this and you get in these droughts, it's really tough to break out of these patterns. So it's really nice to see this kind of coverage out there today. And you can tell it is a bit more humid. It feels a bit more humid, so that's helped to contribute also to these storms popping up. Let's check out the radar. We're going to zoom in right now where we have some development at the moment. I'm watching a storm that's right around Margaret, and I mentioned earlier, if you notice, you see all the rains right in here. Well, look at what's happening there to the south. There's some locations as you go over towards, looks like around Branchville, lightning strike there. Over towards Clay, you can see there's a couple lightning strikes, but that's more displaced from the heavier precipitation. Got to watch that, especially when you get into these dry environments like this, because, well, what can end up happening? You end up with those can spark fires when you get those cloud to ground lightning strikes. So we don't want as much lightning. We'll take the rain, however, in this setup here. So let's go back over to the storm track, and we'll bring that up. Well, it just actually, that storm weakened a little bit, so that's why that went away. So we had an update there showing us where the strongest rain would happen, but it did weaken a little bit. Locust Fort just south of us. You can see some heavy rain there. Let's go in a little bit closer. This is that shower that popped up right around Nectar, but it looks like that is going to be crossing Interstate Highway 79, but right around Cedar Springs. So a first alert for you on that rain that's happening. Okay, let's see where we have some wet weather happening. I was noticing around Gadsden a little downpour. That storm weakened quite a bit. You can see it's pushed in over here towards Hoax Bluff, some leftover rain. Not as much, but we will certainly take it. Also, there's Ohatchee getting some rainfall. Let's head in here just north of Morrisville and see what this looks like. Not seeing as much lightning with this. One strike there just to the north, but that is right around Middleton. State Highway 144 getting some rain. Ingram Wells. So if you're watching me around the Ingram Wells area, first alert for some rain there tracking to the south and around Ohatchee. And one more spot we'll head into over into Shelby County. This is where we had that strong storm advisory. You can see there's still some lightning around Arkwright, and looks like between Harpersville and Wilsonville getting in on some rain. This is drifting to the south very slowly. A lot of what we're seeing though here, the very little motion of this storm, it just popped up, now is sort of collapsing, and it looks like for tomorrow these same areas here to the south we will see another chance of rain. Noticing real quickly here, we'll go back north of Jasper where we're also seeing Walker County, a couple pop-ups there north of Jasper around Marigold. Not seeing as much around Tuscaloosa today in areas further south, but we're still in that window here next hour or two where we still could see some development. Let's go back over to First Alert Tower Cam, and this is our tower camera here on Red Mountain, and we have it panned around to the south. So we're looking over Homewood, over Inverness, all the way south into Shelby County, and that is the cloud top, that storm that is over Shelby County. So that storm is producing some much needed rainfall in those areas. So you see that cloud, that's what we've been seeing there in the areas off to the south. But we have Birmingham. Again, we had a little bit of rain around Nectar that tracked to the south. But this evening, the isolated showers and storms will come to an end. I do think tomorrow afternoon, however, we'll see some more pop-ups later in the day. Higher rain chances now showing up late next week. A lot of the global data starting to show this storm system to the north and west of us, big upper low around the latter part of next week, and more data showing that. So that's better news with respect to rain chances later next week. We still have some time to watch it, but at one point it didn't look like we'd see a drop of rain. Now better signals that we could see some much needed wet weather. And of course we're going to be tracking Tropical Storm Gabrielle. That's all coming up right here on First Alert Weather Extra.
You are certainly right, Wes. We are tracking Tropical Storm Gabrielle, and as of right now, still seeing maximum sustained winds at about 50 miles per hour. Right behind Gabrielle, there's still some areas with some low chance of development, new waves off of the Africa coast that could become, develop a little bit over time. But as of right now, this is our only named storm in the Atlantic, and it's moving through the central Atlantic, eventually going to make a turn north, staying away from the United States. At least that's what the latest track is indicating here. But as it moves through the central Atlantic and makes that shift north, it could become a Category 1 hurricane. And notice, as it becomes a Category 1, those wind speeds go up, and that's when we can see some Category 1 force winds. We're talking about maximum sustained winds at most at around 85 miles per hour heading into the end of the weekend and into early next week. So we'll watch it closely, but as of right now, we're not seeing any direct impacts from that system here at home. A real quick glimpse at those tropical headlines. No local threat expected this time. Gradual intensification is expected, and is expected to make that turn through the central Atlantic once it turns north after tracking to the west. But that's that tropical update. We'll keep you up to date with what's happening in the tropics right here on First Alert Weather Extra. And we'll be back.
All right, it's time to check back in on the radar. We do have some spotty showers showing up around Margaret, some rain happening there. Model data showing that we could see some more rain later into next week. And I want to go over to some of the long-range guidance, and just to give you that first alert, next big thing that we are tracking. What you're seeing, this is some of the global data, and you can see the height contours here. This is showing where we have, notice how they're all circled back to the north, right in this area. Models are picking up on another upper level storm system, upper low, that's going to be tracking by to the north. Some data was showing that further south, some data further north, but we're just seeing the models are picking up on a system back in here. A lot of trends in the data. Again, that's showing up towards the middle and end of next week, but you can see as we get to, this stops around Wednesday of next week. As we get to that time frame, it sort of puts us under more of a moist southwest flow type setup. You can see how we have model data showing a lot more green there on the map for that chance of rain. So we did bump up the chance for scattered storms with that disturbance to the northwest by Wednesday, Thursday of next week. So some better news. Doesn't look like a washout at this point. I just can't promise that with these drought conditions, but as we get a little bit closer, we'll have a better idea. But this is certainly the type of system that can bring a more beneficial rain. So that is better news. Tania, as we watch the long range data, I know at one point it looked just dry through October 1st, but now today it's nice to see some new model guidance.
It certainly is, Wes. Well, let's turn our attention to this. A crucial stretch of the Ridge Parkway has just reopened almost a year after being devastated by Hurricane Helene. That means access once again to a popular high elevation hiking destination known as Craggy Garden. As Kimberly King tells us, the reopening comes just in time for the popular fall travel season.
Today's opening really represents kind of this completion of the first round of recovery projects on the parkway, and so we're celebrating internally and happy for everybody that has access, of course.
The drive to get there, as it is with many things in life, is as much fun as the destination. The ascent on the 20-plus miles newly reopened on the Ridge Parkway are something to behold. Jerry Banks from Swannanoa making the trip with his dog, coming together to take in the views.
Beautiful God's creation. It's been a long year.
That's beautiful.
Clement and Leah Sayers' expressions speak for themselves. They're from Baltimore.
We were planning our 26th anniversary, and we planned to come yesterday, and we decided to postpone it today. And thank God today was the perfect time to come.
Staff at Craggy's Visitor Center sharing photos of erosion that happened after Helene. After so much damage, the parkway is using a process called reinforced soil slope to build back more stable slopes in 57 areas impacted by Helene landslides. Just a few hundred yards away from the Craggy Visitor Center is a trailhead that people literally come here to take advantage of. It's the Craggy Pinnacle Trail, and you can see people way up there. They get a 360-degree view of the mountains.
Just breathtaking, really. And visitation on the parkway as a whole across the month of October trends around 2 million visitors during the month.
Craggy was developed for visitors more than 70 years ago. There are cyclists who come up and reach the top, and people who come for the trails. Not all are open right now, but crews continue to work, knowing fall's a key time.
Wow, I absolutely love that. I'm so grateful that people get to go back out there and enjoy it. Well, you may have heard about the Chicago River, though, being dyed green every year for St. Patrick's Day. But have you heard of waves being dyed pink? I haven't. Let's talk about it. Researchers from UCLA School of Engineering are doing experiments that turn the water around the Santa Monica Pier pink. That's my color, guys. They're using pink dye to study and better understand water movement and how it affects water quality in the area. The observational experiment poses no risk to people, vegetation, or wildlife. The water will be dyed again later this month. Well, fire crews in California have contained what's known as the Coach's Fire. This is near San Diego. It started Monday in the lakeside area of San Diego County. At least 6 homes were burned in the blaze. 2 injuries reported right now. Investigators don't know how the fire started. Alabama and California aren't the only states struggling with dry conditions. Some areas in Maine are currently dealing with a severe drought. The dry conditions are impacting the amount of hay farmers can produce. Leanne Stapleton talked with some farmers about the impact the dry conditions are having on business.
All in all, it's going to be a rough winter for some if they don't find some hay.
From too much rain to not nearly enough. Alan Green, who owns Phillip View Farm in Sebago, says this summer's drought is hitting hay yields hard.
I had one field that normally would get me 30 or 40 second crop bales on 20, 25 acres, and I got 5.
With what he was able to harvest, it's just enough to feed his own cattle. But for customers who look to Green for supply,
my customers, I'm going to come up short. I sold a lot of my first crop thinking we were going to get a better second crop than we did.
it's not just Green's farm struggling.
Yeah, in a normal year, this hay would be right up to the front of the barn. It'd also be stacked 3 high.
In Monmouth, Andy Smith, who owns the milk house, says it's a similar story.
From May until sometime in November, they're generally out grazing. If they're not, that means that not only are we not making hay right now to help feed them through the winter, but they're already burning right through the reserves that we're supposed to feed them all winter long.
Smith describes it as a double whammy. With no relief in the forecast, he has to buy hay from other Maine farmers and even out of state.
Right now we're borrowing money to buy feed. Well, then we're going to be paying interest and making those payments for several years to come.
Tom Gordon with the Maine Department of Agriculture says only 10% of Maine crops are irrigated, which means rain is a lifeline.
In Maine, crops need about 1 inch of water per week. And during July and August, there was maybe only 1 to 2 inches for the month.
The Maine legislature did appropriate $1.3 million this year for the Farmers Relief Fund to pay for drilled wells and water storage ponds.
What I always say is the time to plan for a drought is before it happens.
But that irrigation option isn't possible for Green and Smith. They say they'll do their best with what rain they can get and even consider tougher possibilities.
You know, there's an old saying amongst farmers and ranchers that you can't feed your way out of a drought. If you've got too many cattle and not enough hay, you need to get rid of cattle.
Green also owns maple trees. He said the drought has impacted those as well, but he won't know just how much until tapping season in March. Well, still to come, we're headed out to Protective Stadium, where the First Alert Weather team took part in an Education Day event with more than 1,000 students.
Explore the wonders of weather with Weather in the Classroom. Scan the QR code now to help your kids soar to new heights with Soar with 6.
Well, earlier today, the First Alert Weather Team was at Protective Stadium visiting with more than 1,000 students from across the area. Here's a little look into how it went. Well, we're having a fun time out at the Birmingham Legion Education Day at Protective Stadium. Lauren, Tania, we've had over 1,200 students that have stopped by. It's just been a blast to be a part of this and see so many students today.
I know, they're so excited. They're pumped up on energy, even though it's hot. Yeah, they have tons of energy, and it's just so great to meet all the kids here across Central Alabama.
Always fun having a field trip, right? And,
oh, yeah.
And we've had so much material, educational material. We've been giving away some backpacks that we gave away to all the students, and we've got the mobile green screen set up, and that's been a big hit out here today.
It has.
Yeah.
Tania and I were talking, if we were kids, that would have been the first place we stopped, seeing a green screen, because you get to see what it's like to be a meteorologist, what we do in the studio.
And there's a lot of kids that stop by the booth that are so interested in weather, so this really gives them a taste of what it's like.
Right. That one of the cool things too is a couple of the students stopped by. We've had a lot of schools out. There was Walker and Holt Elementary from Tuscaloosa County that stopped by, and the first thing I asked is, can you find Tuscaloosa on the map immediately? You know, it's a geography lesson too, right? Knowing your location when it comes to severe weather, and just so impressed with the students how they were able to identify on a map where they are.
And you know, we don't do that just here. We can also come into your classroom. That's why we have weather in the classroom. And one of the things we harp on is you got to know where you live on a map, because that's how warnings are issued.
That's true.
Yeah, so I was mentioning the materials that I was holding here, but if you go to, this is part of SOAR with 6. If you go to WBRC.com, you look under First Alert Weather, you will find weather in the classroom. So there's a big component to weather in the classroom, and it's also part of school visits, right?
Yes, it sure is. Well, go to our website, join us, or at least reach out to us, request a visit from any of our meteorologists here at WBRC, and we're going to continue to enjoy the game today, right?
Yeah, enjoy the game today, and we would love to come visit teachers. We're starting to set up these school visits on the calendar, so again, go to Weather in the Classroom and sign up. And just a big shout out to all the students that stopped by to say hello today.
And you know, those hot dogs they had look real good. So I think what we need to do is go find ourselves a hot dog.
I agree.
That sounds like a plan. We had lots of fun out there today, and just want to give a big shout out to Shinty and also Megan joining us out there today as well. It looks like Mother Nature turned the faucet on. This is in Lineville, Alabama, and I want to give a big shout out here to Gary Craven in Lineville. This is in Clay County. He just shared that, and I said, the first thing I thought when I saw that, it's like Mother Nature has turned the faucet on. But we've had a couple of these pop-up showers. There's Clay County. You can see the rain, a little leftover shower activity there just south of Ashland. But let's get in here closer. It seems like those little downpours, they are settling down, but a couple pockets of rain. Childersburg, we're getting some wet weather now. It looks like maybe around Marble Valley over towards Lay Lake. The one thing about where this storm popped up, and it's sort of collapsing now, but it's cooled things off. You can see where that breeze is dropping to the south. So you may have noticed around Columbiana, nice little breeze, and it looks like over towards Alabaster and Pelham, first alert for some of that rain-cooled air moving in. But this is what we call an outflow boundary. Might be just enough to maybe spark another shower as that keeps on moving to the south. So we'll keep our fingers crossed on that. Hopefully we'll get a little bit of rain. Let's take it back to the home screen here, and I want to go and zoom into Springville and Clay County, or St. Clair County, really winning out on the pop-ups. Pell City, it is so close. Now Branchville's getting in on some of that rainfall. You can see over towards Margaret and back in towards Moody. Let's zoom in on that. There's Springville, back in towards Branchville, St. Clair Springs, but it's just very scattered in here, but a nice little coverage there across parts of St. Clair County. But that's where most of the rain's happening at the moment. We could see some more tomorrow, but by later on tonight, looks like things settle down. The model's picking up on the possibility maybe to the north and east, kind of like last night. If you joined us on Good Day Alabama earlier today, we did have a couple of pockets of rain we were tracking to the northeast. That could happen again early morning. And then after 2 o'clock tomorrow especially, we need to watch it. We'll see some of these pop-ups, I think, especially for areas to the south. We could see some scattered development, but it's going to be another hot day tomorrow. So plan for that looking ahead. Maybe tomorrow you're headed out to the Alabama State Fair. Notice by 4 o'clock we have a 20% chance of rain, but it looks dry through tomorrow evening. High temperatures in the 90s for tomorrow with overnight lows still in the 60s. So those overnight temperatures still not too bad. You could notice today, though, it is just a little bit more humid, and that's going to be the story going into the weekend. But then we get a front that moves in Sunday and Monday from the northeast, and that's why we went a little bit higher on the rain chances Sunday. I think there could be a few more of those afternoon storms, highs around 92 degrees. And then for the arrival of fall on Monday, around 90. But notice we backed off just slightly on those daytime temperatures. But here's later next week, the change you'll notice is once we go to Wednesday, Thursday, rain chances start to go up. In fact, next Thursday up to around 40%. Now, we're not saying, a 90% chance of rain, but certainly a big time improvement compared over what we were talking about yesterday with some of the long range data just showing dry conditions with all the models through the end of the month. But it is nice to see that system showing up as we go to meteorologist Tania Michelle. And Tania, yesterday you were going beyond the 7-day forecast, that long range outlook from CPC. It was showing a little bit of rain.
It sure was. It showed that above average possibility, and I'm sure hoping we get it so we can eliminate the drought across the state. But here we are looking at our temperature outlook first. September 23rd through the 27th, much of the nation dealing with above average temperatures, meaning it's going to be hot still. Those highs in the upper 80s, low 90s as we approach the 27th of this month. But as far as precipitation, the good news is if we get any rain, as it's showing above average, that'll help to cool parts of our area off. You already know how it goes. You get that little pop-up shower, that pop-up thunderstorm, temperatures drop significantly, and you get some much needed heat relief. Well, that's that beyond the 7-day forecast. We'll keep you up to date right here. We'll be back though with more First Weather Extra after the break.
You're watching WBRC 6 News, Alabama Broadcasters Association's Station of the Year.
Hey, we got some rain in that forecast, Tania, through the end of the week. Look, it's not a washout, but I had some folks, I said roll call on Facebook who got rain, and some people said, hey, it was a monsoon at my house. So some of us got the wet weather.
I know, and I know they're happy about it. Listen, that means they don't have to water. If they got some rain, they don't have to blow up their water bill today.
Yeah, look, you got send it to my house, okay? Hey, lovely sunset view from Montevallo. Thanks to Amber Nicholson for sending it in on the First Alert Weather app.
And Wes, look at this one, Dolphin Island, where we want to be. Picture from Jennifer Baker.
Yeah, and check this out, spotted on the campus of Mississippi State University, Octibaha County. We call it the Greater Stark Vegas area over in East Mississippi. But a large dust devil, and Gabriel Slade, a meteorology student, shared that video with us.
Wow.
So we want to thank Gabriel and wish him the best in meteorology. And Tania, great place you can send those photos.
Absolutely. Scan this QR code right here on your screen. You can also download the First Alert Weather app, and you can share your pictures right there from your mobile device. And you may see them featured right here on First Alert Weather Extra.
All right, everyone, we'll see you back here tonight, first at 9, with more updates on those.